Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. Draymond Green is still a great player, but he is becoming more controversial every day and causing conflicts with rivals and players on his own team. For this reason, it is concluded that the Warriors need to begin a restructuring process, and negotiating with Draymond Green would be the start of a new era. The form of veteran star Draymond Green continues to be a growing problem for the Golden State Warriors, particularly as they've fallen to 3 straight losses and now 2 games below .500 on the season. The Warriors have kept faith with Green despite countless controversies over the past decade, but now it's his on-court production that raises the question of whether it's now time to move on from the franchise legend. Warriors' solution to Draymond Green problem may be to trade him. After returning from a 3-game absence in which the Warriors won 2 on the road in Cleveland and Chicago, Green has committed a remarkable 13 turnovers in a pair of losses suffered by a total of 6 points. Head coach Steve Kerr lamented Green's turnovers and stated that the veteran forward is trying too hard right now after Thursday's loss, but the fact is that Golden State's offense is always compromised to some degree when he's on the floor. Kerr on Draymond Green's offense after a 5-turnover showing, he's trying too hard right now. He's such a competitor. He's trying too hard to make plays and he needs to slow down. After a hot start to the season, Green is back to being a 33% three-point shooter who's always left wide open by opposing defenses. It doesn't feel right now like his defense is making up for the offensive issues, which in turn is leading to Golden State's losing woes after a 4-1 start. We know Kerr and Stephen Curry are always going to trust in Green, meaning he'll always be a key piece of the rotation and a primary facilitator offensively. Perhaps that's part of the issue though, that Green needs to be taken away from Kerr and Curry so they can understand whether the alternative is actually more effective. According to NBA insider Jake Fisher recently, the Warriors would only be willing to move on from Green if it lands them superstar forward Giannis Antetokounmpo in return. That goes to show just how wedded Golden State are to the 14-year veteran, which is the exact kind of mindset they should be looking to adjust before the midseason deadline. This isn't to say the Warriors should just be dumping Green at any possible opportunity, but the list of players they're willing to trade him for should be far longer than solely Antetokounmpo. If they don't at least consider it and explore moves, the front office and franchise could be left with even more regret over their inability to maximize the final years of Curry somewhere near his prime. Trade packages for 3 Warriors center targets from latest report. The Golden State Warriors are reportedly looking for athletic centers on the trade market. Chris Haynes reported Friday that the Warriors are targeting centers Daniel Gafford, Nick Claxton, and Robert Williams III. In my Ranking Kuminga Trade Targets article, I essentially had Gafford and Claxton tied for 9th. They will likely cost a similar amount in a trade. I did not have Robert Williams III ranked, but he would have been in the next tier of players. If he didn't have such a lengthy injury history, he would be a much more attractive target. Here is one trade package for each Golden State target. Nets receive Jonathan Kuminga, Al Horford, 2032 second-round pick. Warriors receive Nick Claxton. I've written before that the Nets should have interest in Kuminga. He'd be their most talented young wing. But Hoops Hype's Michael Scotto poured cold water on that possibility. The Brooklyn Nets, who were speculated by some at times to have interest in Kuminga, never showed much interest in the 6'7" forward. If the Nets really have no interest in Kuminga, then they'd probably demand a first-round pick in this deal. But I'm guessing that they do actually have some interest in him. Of the 3 Warriors trade targets from Haynes' report, Claxton has played far and away the most minutes. He started all 26 games he's played, averaging 13.5 points, 7.8 rebounds, 4.5 assists and 1.4 blocks. He's not a dominant defensive player, as the Nets have actually been slightly worse with him on the defensive end over the last 2 seasons, per cleaning the glass. But he has made the offense 4.7 points per 100 possessions better, which isn't a surprise given his improved passing ability. I suspect there would be a spirited back and forth about whether the Warriors would have to include a first-round pick in this trade, and if the Nets don't get one, maybe they choose to keep him. But Brooklyn has developing big men Noah Clowney and Danny Wolf who need as much seasoning as possible. With that in mind, moving Claxton for a talented wing in Kuminga makes sense, and perhaps the Nets can reroute Horford to a contender for another second-round pick. Mavericks receive Moses Moody, Alabama. Horford, 2032 second-round pick. Warriors receive Daniel Gafford. I had 2 Gafford trade packages in my 3 Warriors Mavericks trade ideas article, so I ended up having to choose just one for this article. I'm sure the Warriors would love to get Gafford while saving their Kuminga and picks package for a wing, so that's why I chose this one. Gafford is averaging 8.5 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks in 21.9 minutes per game. On the surface, Claxton's stats look better. But the per 36 minutes paint a more complicated story. Gafford, 14.0 points, 10.1 rebounds, 2.1 assists, 2.4 blocks. Claxton, 16.1 points, 9.2 rebounds, 5.4 assists, 1.6 blocks. Gafford is also under contract for longer at a cheaper rate, so it's hard to say who has more trade value. In any case, I'm banking on the Mavs having interest in Moses Moody, who is a 23-year-old 3&D wing on a team-friendly 3-year, $37.5 million contract. The Mavs would likely push for a first-round pick in this package, but they might settle on this. And just like with the Nets, they could try to reroute Horford to a contender another second-round pick. Trailblazers receive Moses Moody, Tracy Jackson-Davis. Warriors receive Robert Williams III. In 8 seasons, Robert Williams III has played just 252 games. The Warriors would be making a huge gamble here giving up Moody, but it could pay off in a big way. Williams is the most productive rebounder and shot blocker of Golden State's 3 targets on a per-minute basis. He's averaging 13.4 rebounds and 3.5 blocks per 36 minutes this season. He's a caliber of shot-blocking presence the other 2 simply aren't. The Blazers could have interest in Moody. They have young players who need high-usage roles in Denny Avdija, Shaedon Sharpe, and Scoot Henderson. Moody can defend and space the floor without dominating the ball, making him a great fit in Portland. Jackson-Davis is a throw-in to make the money work. Warriors' most aggressive move during trade season would infuriate fans. The splashiest trade they can make probably wouldn't change their fate. Between a combination of age-related decline, stalled-out developmental projects, and generally underwhelming performances by just about everyone other than Stephen Curry, the Golden State Warriors enter NBA trade season as simply an afterthought in the championship chase. This roster is practically begging for a midseason change, but nothing short of a needle mover would, well, move the needle. This franchise needs to find a fortune changer, but with preferred target Giannis Antetokounmpo seemingly out of reach, either unavailable or unaffordable, it might need an outside-the-box gamble like last season's deadline deal for Jimmy Butler. Dialing up the Dallas Mavericks, for instance, might deliver 5-time All-NBA honoree Anthony Davis, but fans might be less than enthused about such a partnership. This trade for Davis is doable, but it'd be costly, risky, and very possibly not enough. Golden State Warriors receive Anthony Davis, Brandon Williams. Dallas Mavericks receive Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield. 2028 first-round pick. Warriors fans might be miffed at the mere suggestion of this swap, but Dubs decision-makers could see things a different way. Losing Green could force some significant stylistic changes, but maybe a new identity is needed. Re-signing Kuminga always felt like maintaining a bridge toward another blockbuster trade, and this would certainly qualify. Hield has veered into non-essential territory amid a season-long shooting slump. And while the future first has considerable value, extending whatever window Curry has left should still take precedent. Because if the Warriors aren't doing everything in their power to position Curry for success, then it's probably time to ponder the ultimate self-destruct option. Fans should hope the organization isn't even subconsciously considering that subtraction, because the post-Curry chapter for this club will be all kinds of bleak. Golden State, then, has to be bracing for a big swing. Is this the right one? That's debatable, obviously, but again, you could see why the Warriors might sense it has some merit. Davis might feel like a walking medical red flag, but his healthy version remains a game-changer. The last time he stayed upright for a full season, which was only back in 2023-24, he was named an All-Star, an All-NBA second-teamer, and an All-Defensive first-teamer while also collecting Defensive Player votes. His nightly contributions from that campaign, 24.7 points, on 55.6% shooting, 12.6 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 2.3 blocks, and 1.2 steals. Sounds incredible, right? Here's the thing, save for a slight dip in scoring and shooting efficiency, he's basically been as productive on a per-minute basis this season. He's not just a really good player, he's a full-fledged elite talent. He could be the second scorer Curry so desperately needs, plus the defensive anchor for the post-Draymond Dubs. Don't sleep on Williams either. His speed, athleticism, and transition attacking would all energize this group. He'd add some ignitable shot-making and secondary playmaking, too. Plus, this 3-for-2 trade would clear room for Pat Spencer to get his deserved standard deal. This would accomplish quite a bit. It still feels like a tough sell to the fanbase. They probably aren't eager for this team to splurge on a 30-something with his own set of injury issues. The issues with offensive spacing wouldn't go away. The cost could be enormous if things don't click, as the future first would have no protection, and maybe Kuminga could find his footing in a developmental setting without the same win-right-now pressure. There would be all kinds of risk, who knows how Curry would react to losing Green, and an uncertain reward. Golden State should be better than Davis, but good enough to rub shoulders with the West's elite. Not being able to answer that question, or at least not answer it affirmatively, would be the deal-breaker for Dub Nation.